signs and all the symptoms of aging with their products. In spite of the fact they're called anti-aging, I think fundamentally when you look at the science and how they develop those products, I mean, they tend to really, the functional result or the functional consequence is always just covering it up. It's a cosmetic, whether it's a supplement or whether it's a skincare product. By contrast, I think what we have is the fact that with Ageloc technology and the science that we have been working over the last 5 years, I think we've taken an entirely disruptive approach, and that is that we are drilling down deep, and we are going down to the sources of aging, and that's why we are so interested in the genes and the genetic basis of aging. I think it's time now that we have to do that. 5 years ago, perhaps when we started on this journey, there's less data and there's less belief or credibility, if you will, with the Ageloc approach. But I think we've proven over the last 5 years that every time we launch an Ageloc product, we have been able to look at or use the genetic basis of aging to drive and direct our research and to come up with a meaningful anti-aging product. So that's really the difference, if you will. We look at the sources of aging rather than just the science of symptoms of aging. Okay? So, how we use Ageloc is actually quite simple, but it's sophisticated, it's simple, but it's really powerful. It's not a simplistic way. So, but for most of you, I think I like to use this graphic to tell you, we have tens and thousands of ingredients, natural ingredients in our library. And the only way to discover and identify the right ingredients to blend into a final product, regardless of whether it's a skincare product or supplement, is to go through our Ageloc filter, right? So one of our assets, if you will, in Ageloc is our repository of tens and thousands of natural ingredients from all around the world. And when we put it through the Ageloc filter, and that is to see how they can affect age-related genes, we then are able to find those particular ingredients that are effective and fundamentally should be blended together. So without that filter, and our competitors don't really have this filter, if you will, because of all the intellectual property, we have to protect our Ageloc technology, then they are not able to filter a product. They are still fundamentally just groping in the dark for the right ingredients to put into an anti-aging product. So when you think about Ageloc, think about its powerful and proprietary way of selecting the right ingredients, the safe ingredients, and the effective ingredients for our Ageloc products. So with that as a representation, let me briefly touch on youth. You heard something, although in the convention, I apologize for not having time to tell you all the exciting things that we have found with this particular product. But I think just consider this product to be the most advanced anti-aging product or supplement we have ever developed in the history of your skin. So, and it's based on 30 years of genetic research and finding these ingredients that are not normally found even in the healthiest diet. So this is a product that all of you should be taking regardless of age. In fact, if you ask any of the scientists around, I think this is one supplement they will never ever forget to take. And so with that sort of perspective as a backdrop, you can imagine why we're so excited about youth and calling it the most advanced anti-aging. So, and the way that we were able to develop this product is because of these two fingerprints, if you will, right? So these are what we call gene expression profiles, or simply, the scientists also use jargon, we call them heat maps. The reason why we call them heat maps is because we're now able, with gene chips, to see the degree of activity that is associated with each particular gene. So that panel on the left represents several hundred genes. And you can see that each gene is colored differently. It's either red or green, depending on the degree of activity, or what we call gene expression. So for our intents and purposes, we have a young gene expression profile and an old gene expression profile. And with these two very, very important and critical fingerprints, we can then go hunting. We now know what to copy, with a product. So what we really wish to copy with you is that particular fingerprint on the left panel. And that's the young gene expression profile. So this is the Ageloc technology that we use to develop you. So with that, we came out, I'll just show you, this is now a real heat map, if you will, of one of the tissues. This is the brain after taking youth. And briefly, these are several thousand genes at the bottom, and the one at the top represents the old fingerprint. So when we then treated an old brain tissue with youth ingredients, we can get that younger looking gene expression at the bottom. So this is very exciting to us because for once, we were able, and we are able now, with youth, to for intents and purposes, copy close to 95% of a young heat map. So that's pretty good to us, and it's pretty exciting. But that's not all of it. With this, thank you. So, we truly now know that this youth is addressing these sources, genetic sources of aging, but we're taking up to the next level and say, what does it really mean in the body? What does it really mean in each and every cell type that we have in our body that comprises different tissues, right, or organs? So here, we look at mechanisms. These are aging defense mechanisms, and it's very simple. If you Google defense mechanisms relating to aging, you will find these kinds of examples. One of them would be the immune system or the inflammation balance system. You would have the DNA protection, cellular protection, and you have tissue renewal and so on. But here I've illustrated 6 major defense mechanisms that are being affected by youth in a positive manner. Okay? So when you combine the youth impact on all these 6 defense mechanisms, what you have that for, it translates to a systemic or a total body protection to protect your body against the aging process. So another way of looking at it is to say, look, a year from now, you're going to be 1 year older, and your family is going to wish you a happy birthday. But your body doesn't have to track so tightly to that time aging or chronological aging. With youth, you can actually cut the connection between chronological aging and the biological aging of a tissue. So the So graphically then, I've shown you the heat maps, how we affect in a positive way the gene expression. It then translates to protection of these aging defense mechanisms. It preserves them. So you can imagine, for example, the immune system. We all know as we get older, the immune system weakens. But in the presence of youth, it doesn't weaken as much. It stays optimal, and it can protect you from all kinds of things that the immune system is supposed to protect the body from, and so on and so forth. Now, with this particular protection then, it will then translate to a variety. Do we have? Okay, one more. No, it doesn't come up. It doesn't matter. The 6 defense mechanisms in total, rather than calling these an aging, anti-aging product, I would like to think that youth is a youth-preserving product. Okay? It's all about youth preservation. So, and because with the phrase youth preservation, that everybody, any adult, regardless of age, should be taking it. Because sometimes the anti-aging phrase connotes, well, this product is only for old people like me, right? So, or for older people, but not really. The younger you can start, like a 20-year-old taking this product, the less likely that when that person gets older, that those other maladies will appear. So this is really all about taking the product, and it's all about youth preservation. An oil or a liquid ingredient to get it in solid ingredients. Okay? So it's actually a mini pill within a bigger pill. So previously, technologically, we would not have been able to put a liquid ingredient together with solid. We had to use an entirely different capsule. But here, in collaboration, in partnership with our capsule manufacturer, we are able to come out with this VPET technology and use it for you. So, pretty exciting. Very good. What does it really mean, fundamentally, when you take it? So, in Nu Skin, and this is another differentiation, we do conduct clinical studies on our products. This is very important to us. Many companies will borrow science on the ingredients and then use that science and only that science to say that product works. We take a step further and say, fine, that science is really good and we also have it and guide us, but it's not the only. It should not be the means to an end. The end should be a clinical study, right, with the final product, and that's what we've done. So here are the three types of clinical studies we've conducted. We want to make sure, why do we recommend you taking twice a day rather than once a day? So these are the examples of the tissues that we've looked at to give us an idea what's happening when a person takes you. So the first study would be this oral study where we dose several healthy subjects with this Ageloc U. And you can see the reason very quickly, if you bring up the slide, that after 8 hours, the first dose disappears. Okay? These are blood levels of youth. So after 8 hours, it disappears. And then when you take the second dose, it gets the blood levels up again. That's important because without the optimal blood level, youth doesn't work. Or any product will not work if you don't have an effective, what in science we would be calling an effective blood level. Okay, so that is why we recommend that you take youth twice a day. So that we now have the proof to say that, rather than just thinking that it's better to sell twice as much youth. Okay. Here's a study that we used. It's very easy. The skin is a wonderful model of the whole body. So here, once again, it's not topically applied. This is a U that's been taken orally. In other words, it's taken by mouth by several of these healthy subjects. And then we sort of cause an inflammatory response on a certain part of the body and to see, because we can see the redness happening. In other words, we can see the inflammation reaction occurring. And after when you can see in this particular study, after about roughly 2 months, that inflammation is not as great as before use, right? So it's telling us that defense mechanism that is regulating the inflammatory response is being protected by youth. Therefore, that one of the things that we have as a defense mechanism, the inflammatory balance, is now been proven in a human clinical study. It works. Okay? And more importantly, also, we can actually look under the microscope the number of damaged cells. And once again, we can see that in the presence of youth, there are far fewer damaged cells present. I think the number is what? 12 versus about only 3, less than half of those cells were damaged in the presence of youth. So once again, we have the credible scientific evidence to suggest that youth protects against cellular damage. Okay? So this is the model. We use the skin as a model. It's not to say that youth is a skin product, but to tell us and be able now to use this data on the skin to extrapolate that this is going to happen throughout the body. After all, the youth was taken orally. This is perhaps, personally, the most exciting study that we've ever conducted with a new skin supplement. And this is the brain study. Okay? This we can actually do with what we call a technology that's called the functional MRI. We just completed this study down the road at the University of Utah at the Brain Institute. And we can show this is a perspective of a brain from different angles. The top panel shows the frontal picture, and then the one next to it is from the back, and then the middle one is the side view, and then the bottom one is the bottom view. Okay? It's the same brain. They're not all 6 brains. So, just to make sure. And we don't have to we don't have to crack the skull open to look at a brain either. This is functional MRI conducted non-invasively. They just shove you into this tube and they can scan you. Now, I think you can see that before the supplementation, there are certain areas of brain activity in the brain. But the important thing, I think it's very visible, and this is why it's so exciting. It doesn't take a lot of analysis to see that after the post-supplementation, much bigger area of the brain is being affected by youth in a positive way. It's being activated. Okay? So this is... You won't see this in any other company. You won't see this with any other supplement with these kinds of data. And if I take another perspective, now, since there is a baseline activity, what we could do, right, with our analytical method is to subtract out the baseline activity and to see what that youth-related activity, whether it's still there. And this is the analysis of the same brain. And once again, I think you can see the blue areas. This activity is the one strictly related to youth supplementation. All right? If you look very closely and when the lights are down, when you look at it, there are certain discrete areas that are magenta in color. Those areas show an even higher area of brain activity. This is what we are going to analyze over the next few months to see exactly where the location of those areas are in the brain. Okay? Because once we know the location, because the brain is fairly mapped up now, certain areas are responsible for certain behaviors or activity or functions for the rest of the body, and then we'll be able to interpret even more deeper why brain activity is occurring in these areas. Now, that's not all. This is surface activity. In other words, it's just happening in the gray matter. When we can sort of software slice, I would call it, okay? Just to make sure that we don't slice the brain open. So we can analyze with the computer also other areas inside the brain. And once again, we saw similar activity in gray matter and non-gray matter. Another exciting insight and observation that we have obtained with you, and this will lead to other studies down the road why this is happening. But clearly, you, both on the skin, one big tissue, the largest tissue in the body, and then in another tissue in the body, the most important tissue in the body, the brain, it also has a positive impact. So I think we have shown we have provided or generated very compelling data on the effects, the beneficial effects of youth. So that's really not all. Youth is also very scanner friendly. So we have conducted another study with you before and after, and you can see, as represented by the blue, these are blue histographs or the hatch bars, you can see there's a dramatic and significant increase in scanner antioxidant protection after youth supplementation. So I think the clinical studies corroborated and confirmed what we had done at a mechanistic level of research, that youth does provide positive, very beneficial clinical benefits when you take this particular product. Now, this is a very recent one. I didn't say that at the convention, but since you guys are all OTG, I thought I'll share this with you. In addition to the antioxidant protection provided by you from the external ingredients, this particular product also appears to induce or to produce more natural antioxidants in the body. This is an example of a natural antioxidant that occurs and that is constantly being produced inside every cell, and that's called glutathione. Once again, with the help of our brain study, we found that this particular natural antioxidant goes up dramatically in presence of you. So, not only does the antioxidant provided by youth goes up when you take youth, it seems somehow when you take it, it also tickles the body natural antioxidants to go up at the same time as well. So almost a double whammo, in this case, a very positive whammo. Okay, yeah, double protection. Both, now I use a technical word, you have exogenous antioxidant protection and endogenous antioxidant protection as well. So pretty exciting for us on you on all fronts.